Hi, I'm Dr. Kaylee Sharp, and today I will present the paper titled Stone Water People, Networks of Meaning in Illinois Rock Art. Isolated bluffs, natural alcoves, springs, and exceptional rock formations are characteristic features of the Southern Illinois landscape. Such natural monuments were also the focal points of spiritual power for ancient Native Americans, their beliefs and ideas pecked, abraded, and memorialized in stone. In Southern Illinois, the Mississippian period petroglyphs are often found near and in association with earlier art and designs, a phenomenon that suggests that certain places held special meaning over time. These features did not exist in isolation, but comprised the core of pre-contact Native American social and ritual networks, as witnessed by the prevalence of rock art sites and others in this region. Modern vandalism and even repeated site visits by caring enthusiasts pose ongoing threats that require our immediate attention. How can such hidden monuments be studied and preserved? How can they be best shared today and in the future? Are there accessible and equitable ways to share such sites without placing visitors or the sites themselves in danger? Such questions guide our present work. We used a combination of geospatial, archaeological, and photogrammetric techniques to preserve the natural and cultural context of Jackson Bottom's landscape, which has been heavily vandalized over time. Using these lines of data, we suggest that the Jackson Bottoms process of ritualization began on the landscape around the Middle Archaic period, about 7,000 years before Common Era, and persisted throughout the Mississippian period at about 1500 of the Common Era. The placement of well-crafted burial offerings and the creation of increasingly complex artwork and imagery attest to this assumption. The centerpiece of the Jackson Bottoms landscape is the geological anomaly known as Fountain Bluffs. In this isolated sandstone ridge, several rock art sites are present in the upper reaches and near the floodplain below. This isolated stone ridge reaches skyward, visibly dominating the surrounding floodplain in the bottomlands. In conjunction with several other landforms, such characteristic features dominate the Jackson Bottoms, where several of the largest rock art sites in Illinois are found. Archaeological survey has revealed that the Jackson Bottoms landscape was occupied throughout all phases of the pre-contact period. Sites including camps, villages, mortuary, rock art shelters, and rock art locations characterize those sites. Spatial statistical analysis identified both hot and cold spots on the landscape, which is a phenomenon that occurred perhaps due to changing subsistence patterns over time. Given that lakes in the floodplain formed during the Middle Woodland period, it is possible to suggest that major settlement pattern shifts occurred then, resulting from people moving into the Jackson Bottoms to gain access to new aquatic resources and bottomland for cultivation. The number of sites also decreased over time, but with sites becoming larger and more consolidated. Importantly, based on the site size distribution, it is possible to suggest that Mississippian settlement patterns reflect a consolidation of smaller sites that grew into a few larger settlements over time, rather than indicating a decrease in population. Fountain Bluff is home to two major rock art sites in Southern Illinois, the Whetstone Shelter and the Lower Bluff Base Fountain Bluff Shelter. In 2016, our team began documenting rock art sites photogrammetrically to generate models for analysis. Our initial aim was to explore changes such as reuse or vandalization that had occurred over time using reconstructed models of rock art sites. Such reconstructions were possible as the sites in the Jackson Bottoms had been documented and studied intensively over the past 2 decades by my colleague and co-author, Dr. Mark Wagner. While original rock art site recording was carried out using conventional hand recording methods of photography, image tracing on acetate, or mapping on graph paper, it served as our basis for analysis. And recent recording strategies have incorporated a broader range of new technologies using 3D modeling techniques and even, in some cases, virtual reality. While the whetstone shelter awaits photogrammetric modeling because it is an isolated rock shelter located up a 60-meter stretch of a vertical rock face, the Fountain Bluff shelter in the lower register of the bluff was much more accessible. The site contains over 100 carved and painted images. The natural isolation of the whetstone shelter, in combined with numerous rock art images, suggests that it was once used for by a select group of visitors to bury their dead or to carry out rituals. The Bluff Base site is located only 3 kilometers south of the Twin Hoffel site. It contains several very large petroglyphs, including a double-headed Mississippian falcon, similar to those seen on the Mississippian era copper plates associated with the Red Horn narrative. The large size of this image, combined with adjacent cross and circle motifs common in Mississippian art, both located in easily accessible locations, suggests that these may have been public images used for both public as well as personal rituals, but that they may have been orchestrated to legitimize local elites through their association with mythological narratives. Through rock art and settlement pattern analysis, it is possible to demonstrate that ritual activities in the Jackson Bottoms found their greatest expression during the Mississippian period. The types and motifs at rock art sites during this era increased significantly in the Jackson Bottoms, with 3 of the most complex rock art sites in Illinois found in this area. Largely absent from the art at Fountain Bluff are creatures from the Mississippian cosmos and the underworld representations it possesses, which suggests that upper world associations were made between Fountain Bluff and the rituals that were carried out there. The large size of images, together with adjacent cross and circle motifs and other avian imagery, suggests the easily accessible location was the site for both public as well as private rituals, and that these may have been orchestrated to legitimate living or symbolically living local elites from communities like Twin Hoffel. Complex network of meaning are found in a variety of images, pecked, scored, and abraded, and painted, suggesting ongoing ritual meaning of the regional landscape over time. While rock art sites and their significance have transformed dramatically, contemporary vandalism continues to pose an ongoing and repeated threat. Using contemporary 3D modeling combined with spatial analysis techniques, it has been possible to capture and preserve elements of the site despite ongoing transformations due to vandalism and changes over time. For millennia, people in the Jackson Bottoms lived in the dynamic landscapes at the confluence of natural and human-made worlds that have been memorialized through the rock art representations presented here today. At the moment, these have withstood the test of time, using tomorrow's technology to preserve meaning and significance from the past. Thank you and have a wonderful day.